Just as there are plenty of fashion myths out there, like don't wear white after Labor Day, there are also interior design myths that are meant to be broken. And TAM Stone is back with a particular myth that's that breaking is wood and metal finishes. They don't necessarily have to match, do they?
No, and actually it's better if they don't.
Really?
Yeah, it adds depth and dimension and character to a space. We've, for so many years, I feel like we've in design have kind of created these cookie cutter spaces. We see it in a magazine and then we try and replicate it in our home. And our homes have lost some soul in that respect. And
so what you're basically saying is if you don't mix, you're boring.
Well, okay, I don't want to be that harsh maybe, but it does, when you start to layer different wood tones and different metal finishes, the room, it really takes on a new character and a lot more dimension.
Okay.
And so it's really important. A lot of people get nervous. I've been on here a few times talking about how brass is in. And
if you go into a lot of homes, it is in. You look at all the doorknobs and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's big.
Well, and we really in the Midwest embrace the kind of satin nickel look. And so
which I'll admit, when I built a house, yeah, that's the direction that I went.
I know, and we all did here. I mean, it was definitely the look in this part of the country for sure, and really everywhere. So you had your doorknobs, your cabinet hardware, all of your lighting. And when I come in and say, well, brass is in, everybody goes, they hate me to hear that. Now we're going to mix it up. We're going to make it where you can actually use both. And we're going to look at some images here. I'm going to show you how to go about doing it so that it will look balanced and correct. This is a room by Toby Fairley Interior Design. She's in Little Rock and Dallas. And what you see there is you have that great sunburst mirror. But if you notice, that actual coffee table is in a silver leaf. Oh, yeah. And so what she's done, what makes this work, is the balance. So she's got a warm undertone in her room, so she is now creating a focal point with that silver.
And this one looks a little bit more cool here.
Yeah, this is a cooler room, and if you look at it, this looks very collected and eclectic, but she's got her stainless in all of her appliances as well as even in her cabinetry, but then you'll notice that the mirrors and the lighting all have the gold tones to it, and it looks more collected and kind of brought together as opposed to just taking out of a magazine and put into your space.
Okay, so we always want to make sure that we choose a dominant metal.
Yes, choose a dominant metal and disperse the others throughout the room with some balance. Okay. You want to look at your undertone in your room. So if you have a warm undertone in your room, you might want to consider a cool metal. Right now we're seeing a lot of grays, so you're starting to see all the brasses and everything come back.
Which is interesting. So you are definitely saying we can mix warm tones and cool tones together, and that's okay.
Yes, yeah. And in your woods as well. So I think we've got a couple of the woods, and one in particular is great because they use a really, this is a Candrack and coal, and you can see here they've got several different layers of wood, and what makes this work, the floor is light, the barn door is mid-tone, and the mantle is darker. What makes it work is that they're all rustic. They all have that same feel. And in the next image, you'll see what a very refined room looks like. Okay. So here, she's got really dark wood in the cabinetry and the pole, and then also in the bookcases. But it's dispersed floor to ceiling throughout the room. The floor itself is actually light, and then of course that huge focal coffee table is in that kind of mahogany color, so really beautiful.
You know, if you go into any type of room that you're going to decorate, it always feels overwhelming sometimes. You always wonder, will I be able to mix this with that? Yeah. What would you say to somebody who will be redesigning a room, or they're building a house and they're thinking about this mixing and matching? What would you say to them?
The three keys are really to, first of all, go with what you love. If it's something you love, ultimately you'll figure out a way to make it work. So don't be afraid to bring in something that's from your family or whatever the case might be. But then also look and see if you do have that balance. Balance and symmetry is really important. Okay. Like those bookcases from floor to ceiling, that mattered because it was balanced off on those cabinets.
You are so good, Tam. Thank you so much for joining us today. Erica. Well, Lisa.